Hello, I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we've got Peter on Elves versus what might be the fastest deck in the format, Oops All Spells. Allosaurus Shepherd coming out for Peter. The uncounterable addition to Elves has really catapulted it into the upper echelon of Legacy decks, despite Plague Engineer being a very powerful and often played card. And it looks like Arthur does in fact have this turn 1 win, which Elves will have basically nothing to say about, but he will play out the whole deck. Got a Wild Canter in there for mana filtering. Pact of Negation to back up the combo. Multiple Dread Returns. I believe he's got 2 copies of Dread Return in there, which we've seen in other games actually be cast. Cabal Therapy and Leyline of the Void. Was that a Leyline of the Void main deck? Interesting. That looked like a main deck Leyline. Not going to help you in this matchup, however. And Peter, we'll see what he has for an answer. Now, Oops All Spells can pivot in games 2 and 3 towards a Belcher strategy, completely bypassing the graveyard. Very dangerous tactic. Not very good, if I'm going to be honest. You got your 4 Lion's Eye Diamonds, your 4 Belchers, and perhaps some additional fast mana, but I mean, it's not really a great Belcher deck. It doesn't really have the consistency to be able to cast and operate Belcher on the first turn, and barring Lion's Eye Diamond, it's definitely an issue. Now, I do like the card Lion's Eye Diamond a little bit more in this deck than in many other kind of Belcher style decks, and that you also have the ability to sacrifice the Undercity Informer using LED mana, which is a line that can occasionally be missed as you're not necessarily thinking about using it to activate. So you don't actually need 4 mana for your both pieces of your combo. You get your Balustrade Spy, which does in fact cost 4 to cast, and then you've got your Undercity Informer, which costs 3 and then 1 to activate, and that 1 can be activated by LED. Really, by anything, which is nice. So Peter here, game 2, he's definitely going to want to have some type of discard if possible, leading out with a Windswept Heath. And that is in fact grabbing a Bayou. We can anticipate a Thoughtseize here against this mulligan to 5. A Cabal Therapy, Simian Spirit Guide, Undercity Informer, Lotus Petal, and I got to imagine the Balustrade Spy, the Undercity Informer. I may get those crossed up on occasion. The Undercity going to be headed towards the bin, and Arthur will need to draw one of those 8 cards, only 7 left in the deck, in order to have any type of shot, or a Dread Return, because he can Dread Return the creature from the graveyard. Cabal Therapy firing back at Peter. The pause here makes me wonder if he has Surgical Extraction. Green Sun Zenith, Nettle, Sentinel, Heritage Druid. This is not a stellar Elves hand, but it did have the necessary requirement of not just getting KO'd on the first turn. Elves will recover. Heritage Druid not played first. Gonna go with the Nettle Sentinel to try and push through extra damage. The other question is preserving cards in hand. And I didn't quite see that. I mean, if that was another Nettle Sentinel, it does make sense to break up the duplicate cards when you're facing down Cabal Therapy. Now we have another Thoughtseize. This one's going to be diminishing value. Just a Chrome Mox or a Spirit Guide. The monkey goes to the bin, leaving just a Chrome Mox, which represents half a mana. Going to need another card to imprint on that for it to do anything. And Chrome Mox does in fact find Chancellor of the Annex. Peter trying to get aggressive turning Nettle Sentinel sideways. Elvish Reclaimer. The crop rotation on a stick, which can actually bring a little bit of violence to the table as well. If he gets some lands into the bin, that Elvish Reclaimer will get significantly larger. And Peter might actually... I think you need 3 lands. And he becomes a 3/4. Which is beefy for 1 mana. 3 green into a Green Sun Zenith. Scavenging Ooze would be a consideration here. Elvish Visionary to draw a card. Collector Oof. Nice sideboard silver bullet there. That's going to shut down both the Chrome Mox and the Lotus Petal on board, severely hampering Arthur's mana while also adding a bit of a clock. 2/2 body. Four damage can come in for the next 3 turns, and Peter's probably going to be fine, barring almost any draw here. Everything turning sideways. Back to Peter. And now Arthur's going to have 1 draw left. We'll see if Peter holds back the Elvish Reclaimer, indicating that perhaps he has access to Bojuka Bog or not. And I believe that'll likely be the case. Simian Spirit Guide, Elvish Spirit Guide, and now casting the 2/2 body, but this is just flailing at this point. Arthur just putting up a good fight, but that is not going to actually be enough to stabilize in this situation. Peter's going to be able to end step use the Elvish Reclaimer to tutor and get Gaia's Cradle for plenty of mana. And now from here, it's just a matter of getting past this opposing elf that untaps Nettle Sentinel. A natural order would certainly punch this out. Everything turning sideways. And Arthur taking lethal. Despite getting that Collector Oof off the board, he is still very dead. And Peter squares the matchup 1 game apiece. However, he will be on the draw, and that discard is going to be significantly worse here. So we're talking about Surgical Extraction, potentially Fairy Macabre, Mindbreak Trap, rarely played in Elves. I think Fairy Macabre amongst the stronger cards, as it can be found with Once Upon a Time if you opt to run any copies of that. Looks like Arthur just mulling down to 6, so this is not a good sign for Peter. He's going to stay pat. Arthur bolting himself. And 3 mana for an Undercity Informer. This does give Peter a turn. 1 mana is going to be needed to activate it. Now, if Peter has Fairy Macabre or Surgical Extraction, it's going to be very difficult to deal with. Arthur will have to find a Cabal Therapy and strip it out of his hand before he activates. You can't activate and then get the Surgical Extraction out of their hand because the targets will be there to be responded to. And it looks like Arthur's just moving all in. There's the Thassa's Oracle. The entire deck going into the bin as it does. And now Cabal Therapy. Does Peter have the instant speed response? He's got what looks like a Mind Break Trap. Looks like he actually had Mind Break Trap. If I saw that correctly. But Cabal Therapy's able to get that out of the way. And then eventually the Dread Return for the win in a very difficult matchup for Elves. Not a whole lot they can do, but Peter putting up his best defense as he could. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.